Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I'm not
How's
on mute
everybody
yet.
doing?
I am doing absolutely awesome because I'm not on mute, so that's off the bingo cards at this moment in time.
I'm just trying to
across
work
the
out
entire
whether
stream.
I just wondered whether the start bit constituted as awkward silence for a little moment.
No, it did not. It did not. No, we don't want to fill that bingo card out at all. Phil Harrison.
Oh, should we get going? Welcome to
Yes.
Stadia with Charts of Games. This is What Has Stadia Done Now, episode 2, and let's say we're hoping for a less controversial show this week. And we'll leave that at that.
There was nothing controversial last week.
Of course not.
No, yeah, that's
I think
fine.
Anthony calls it keeping it real. Yeah.
Indeed. But thank you very much, everyone who supported last week's show, and everyone who's come around to come watch us this week as well, because that means we've obviously done something right. You're still interested in what we have to say. So what do we have to say tonight, guys?
I think we're kicking it off with the
First of all, I'm putting my foot down here.
Go on,
I want to
you
get
put that foot down.
Are you sure? Because you were on mute.
I wasn't on mute.
Bingo cards, people.
Bingo cards. What we are doing here later on the show, we all are going to be picking out a game that we want to come to Stadia. We want what features we would like it to have as well. So get your guys thinking out there. So because we want to hear what your ideas are as well. So back to Barry.
Thank you.
I interrupted you.
It's all right. It's fine. I was just kind of, going to start the direction of where we were going, which was obviously kicking off with the epic news that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order dropped as a pro game. As obviously, I'm sure you're going to see the little dance and the cheeky grin, much as he predicted. On May the 4th, it dropped into our pro libraries. What's everybody's thoughts on that, guys?
Sammy has no thoughts because he's not going to be happy.
I thought it was a brilliant game to drop. It wasn't the one that I was expecting. I guess the majority of people were expecting. A lot of us were expecting Ark. But probably one of the best polished games on Stadia, the first EA game that came onto Stadia. I haven't had a chance to play it yet due to various things. Just haven't been able to get around to it. So I might go back to live streaming a first look at it later on this week, maybe. But from everything else I've read about the game, everyone else seems to enjoy it, and having it as part of Stadia Pro is a big plus for the platform. So probably one of the best games they've got on Stadia Pro at the moment in the current roster.
I'd say that's a fair shout.
Would this be the biggest game, do you think, it's went to Stadia Pro? Awkward silence.
You put me on the edge of the... You can't put me on there because I'm not...
I'm going to
all the games that have come to Stadia Pro.
I'm going to say no because I think it was Destiny 2 because that came with all the DLCs when that was just launched. When Stadia launched, that came with the full big expansion. So I think that would
certainly be one of the contenders.
Yes, and also I would throw out because everybody loves this game, Zombie Army 4. That was a big game which came not day and date to Stadia Pro, but it was pretty soon after it launched. It went straight into Stadia Pro. So
they're good shouts. And I think
yeah.
me and Sammy are going to be biased, and we've got to throw F1 into that as well.
Yes,
it's got to be done. I think for getting Jedi Fallen Order thrown into the pro library is awesome. Take my hats off to them. Real switched on piece of marketing to tie it in with May the 4th. Some good thought has gone into that. So it's good to see. Obviously, I bought it when it came out, so I couldn't claim it as a pro game. But nevertheless, I think that the fact that I bought it, and not only had I bought it for a second time, it kind of speaks volumes in the sense of how good a game it is.
Yeah, I think it's a real good get for Stadia Pro. It is a big AAA game, one of the highest ever selling Star Wars games ever. Sort of carry on, highly regarded. If you're a Star Wars fan, you need to play it because it is absolutely brilliant. And what I like about this game is it's going to sound a bit weird. When is it weird when I say stuff? It is sort of Dark Soulsy like because you have to get your time in and your lightsabers and like that. But what I like about it is the difficulty there is. If you're struggling, you can bung it down to easy, or if you're feeling more, what's the word? Confidence, and confidence is key. You can chuck it up to the high difficulties, which is great as well to give yourself a bit of a challenge. I think it is a real great game, and it is a real great game for Stadia Pro. Sammy, anything else you want to add there?
I can't really add to that. I can't speak for the game itself. I haven't played it yet. Looking forward to it, that's for sure. Yeah, brilliant addition to the Pro library, as I've said.
Yes, surely that's got to go into your Pro showcase, hasn't it, Sammy?
That's what I was talking about. I normally nowadays pre-record first looks at the games. Because of various things going on last week, I haven't had the time to pre-record something.
Shocking.
So it might be I live stream something later on. Don't know. Watch this space.
Excellent. Sounds good.
And how many times will you die? Because every time I watch any of your streams, Sammy, you're either dying or close to dying.
I've just done a 1 hour stream in which I didn't die at all.
You must have had a turn down or something. But when I was watching you, you didn't know how to jump. You kept on missing your jumps.
Were you trying to watch me when I was trying to get with all those barrels?
Yes.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think the game tells you how to do that.
You were jumping over the water.
Moving on.
That doesn't matter. It doesn't count. Let's move on.
Indeed.
Okay. So next up, we are going to very briefly talk about the fact that news broke last week that during the Apple and Epic trial, that there was a potential that Stadia could have had Fortnite as a game. So obviously officially launched on Fortnite on Google Play. They'd offered to bring the mega hit to Stadia in exchange for being given a free pass on the Play Store for Android distribution. Obviously, quite clearly that didn't happen. However, we are saying that it was interesting that Epic apparently made that offer, given their CEO, Tim Sweeney, said in late 2020 that Fortnite for Stadia wasn't on the roadmap because the platform lacked a mass market user base. What are our thoughts on that, guys? Shifting us around?
I'm just trying to confuse things.
Alert,
Yes. Because I know what you're like. I know what you are all like. You have to be kept on your toes. You have to be poked and prodded.
I think it's very interesting that certainly someone at Epic on the development team had the idea of, let's bring this game to Stadia. This is the first time we know Tim Sweeney's talked about, we wouldn't bring games to Stadia at the moment because of the small user base. But this seems to fly in the face of that, as you said. It's the developers obviously considered that as an option.
And what do you think about in terms of the construction of the deal? Where do you sit in terms of the thought of good thing that Google kind of passed it up and said, no, we're going to stick to our guns? Or
I think it would have opened Pandora's box if they caved into Epic. Even on Fortnite, without doubt, one of the biggest games pretty much worldwide. I mean, it's up there with Call of Duty and other games that people want on any platform they own. I think it would have been opening Pandora's box in that if they brought Fortnite on with those deals, other developers, and it just get in a situation where indie developers would be trying to get around the terms and conditions, which I don't think would have done Stadia any favors in the long run. Still want Fortnite to come to Stadia, but not under the deal that was proposed whenever it was last year.
Okay. Duncan?
Again, it's something similar to Sammy there. This would have opened up hell for the Google Play Store, and it would have had a big, massive spiral down there. Two things out from this. I think there's definite room for negotiation there, but I think the reason why they're using the Play Store is to follow up from your opening remarks with the Stadia's user base is too small. That is why they were using the hook of the Google Play Store, because that's where they can make a lot more money, and they were trying to leverage the situation. So it's a hard one. I am a big pusher of saying we need Fortnite on Stadia. That view for me still has not changed. Fortnite is an absolute juggernaut beyond belief. And if you look at the figures which are coming out from this trial, Fortnite is making $140 million a month. It gets better. Just on PlayStation. And you take 30% off that, and that's how much PlayStation a month makes off
that one game.
Yeah. So you can see why Epic are trying to get all this sort of changed. And you can see why one of the reasons I said free-to-play games would be free on Stadia. Go back and do your receipts. I said free-to-play games would be free on Stadia, and that was before Stadia launched. It is because of the microtransactions, because that is where developers are making an absolute ton of money now. And it's like the ripple effect. If you get these free-to-play games onto Stadia, they're more likely to play other games in Stadia, and it's a spiral. So getting Fortnite onto Stadia for me is a big thing, but I think this deal they shouldn't have took it, and they obviously didn't take it. But I think it leaves the negotiations open there for future. But I don't think things are going to go down too well following this, because Epic and Apple trial is just absolutely outstanding.
It's laying bare a lot of secrets that are out there. Particularly, you mentioned Sony and their what was it? They want reimbursement for lost earnings as a result of crossplay and cross-platform. That for me has been the most shocking thing out of all this. As a bit of a Sony fanboy at heart, my introduction to gaming was PlayStation 2. That was quite bad.
Yeah. It does seem like it's the trial in itself, the way kind of Epic are seeming to come out of it is a little bit like they're doing a how to kind of lose friends and alienate people type scenario this week. I know they're obviously taking on the mammoth giant in Apple, and you've got to come ready to play in kind of that arena. Well, I mean, I think in terms of the deal, whether it was taken, I think what we ultimately have to realize is they're kind of effectively running independently. You've got two separate divisions. Are they right from a business perspective not to want to compromise on one division, versus the other? I would probably say so. Yes, I think it was the right decision. The thing that pleases me about it is the fact that it's not, I don't read this in the sense that other people have maybe perceived this and saying, oh, darn it, Stadia could have had Fortnite, they've missed out. I actually think they've stuck to their guns. They've stayed true to themselves. They've made a decision that they're comfortable with. And they've obviously, certainly by the way that sounds, they've been the one that said, yeah, you can offer that deal all you want, but we ain't taking it, so you can forget it. Which kind of allows them to have an element of control, which I think is, we talk a lot about sitting around that negotiation table, and you need to be prepared to get up and walk away from a deal on the table, just to show how serious you are. So if we look at it, are the numbers, is it done and dusted? We're never going to see Fortnite? I don't think so. I don't think that's necessarily not the case. I think at some point you will find that there will be a deal brokered in order to to have that free to play title that everybody wants available on the platform. You know, there's stuff in there that I know we're going to come into talking about games coming to the platform with features. You know, you imagine Fortnite with Stream Connect, you know, crowd play. There's too much there that makes it attractive for Epic to want to kind of go in and do it to show exactly what else can be done with their title to completely take it off the table. So, you know, that those things may be out there in the domain. I think it was the right decision to turn it down at that point in time. And I don't think it's the last we've heard of it. I think something else will come from it at a later stage.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be, as we're talking here, the trial is still ongoing, and there is still things coming out. It's just really, really interesting. One of the biggest things which just came out this afternoon is where Epic sees their room for growth, and their room for growth isn't on consoles; it is on mobile phone. So this is a potential opportunity for Stadia down the line if they try and get Epic around the negotiating table again. Oh, but I think that's going to be interesting, to say the least. But it's not all doom and gloom here for Stadia. With that, there is potential here down the line, and they actually brought up Stadia during the negotiations, so at least to know that Stadia is around anyway. So there's another positive spin on it. But Fortnite needs to be on Stadia. I'm going to say it, and it's because it just legitimizes the platform, and it just helps perception out there. I know a lot of people will be saying, but it doesn't matter, you can play Fortnite everywhere, but that's the entire point of why Fortnite needs to be on there. If that makes any sort of sense.
Yep. No, I completely get where you're going with that, and it does make sense. You know, if you think a load of mobile devices are becoming more and more powerful, why not put yourself in the position where you can actually put it in the hands of players where actually, rather than using the phone's resource as well as data, you're just literally simply using data and minimal resource on the phone. I think that, you know, it's a very good place to be.
Yep, exactly. As we know, the snowball's going down the hill at this moment in time with 5G coming out there. And I've actually got 5G on my phone now and again now, which I'm actually shocked about, which is great to see. It's just going to open up all these opportunities for Stadia down the line. Yep,
agreed.
So, anything you want to add, Samuel? Because you're awfully quiet there.
I'm awfully quiet.
Someone go slap them.
I'm letting you guys speak.
We don't like being serious here.
I'm butting it over you, Duncan. Let's be fair. No, I completely agree. We need Fortnite on the platform, but it's not going to be under that deal.
Just the way it should be.
Exactly.
No awkward silence here.
No, of course not. No. Bingo card.
Yeah, I'm going to put this out here. The reason why there's always these awkward silences because there is a moment or two delay for this coming up here. So if I stop talking now, the gap just actually sounds a lot longer for us here than it does for you guys out there.
I think that added to that, we're always being courteous as well. I think because we all get on quite well, we're always normally giving each other a chance to see if anybody else is going to jump in rather than kind of just talk over each other as well.
Plus, it's difficult to know whether Duncan's on mute trying to talk or whether he's just not talking.
Elixir's asking if we're playing bingo or not.
We are playing bingo.
I think we've probably.
I think we're teasing something.
Will you stop that?
Every time I saw your glass, I quickly grabbed mine. As soon as I got it to my lips, you were out of screen.
Yeah. Oh dear. Shall we move on to the next point?
I suppose so.
Excellent. You're already getting me shouted at by Ray for talking about the Fortnite thing. So I'm. This next one will be interesting. Now, obviously, we received confirmation last week in obviously the public domain that Aaron Hoffman-John is now obviously departed Stadia and is now kind of obviously working at Google AI. Now, I'm going to kick this one off if nobody minds. Do you know what? Actually, I think if you look at kind of the situation, the structural changes, the decisions and things that have been made, it's kind of a logical thing that somebody would have moved on, potentially in particular teams. And there's a part of me that actually wonders, if you look at the value that she can maybe contribute in Google AI, at what point later in Stadia's life cycle does some of that Google AI then start to filter back in and have a positive impact? So just because she's maybe not sitting under the Stadia banner per se, she's now kind of firmly under that Google banner. None of us know what they're going to be working at. Obviously, AI is useless without data. We all know that. It's without kind of ramming a whole load of data in there, which I'm sure they can drag a whole load across from Stadia to kind of make AI function in the way that they want it. I don't think it's necessarily a disastrous thing, because somewhere, if they can make that click and bring that synergy in the relationship between effectively that kind of bigger brother in Google and then obviously Stadia, then they can inject features, they can inject a whole load of stuff potentially into the platform that that could be really positive. We'll go to Duncan next.
I'm going to go to me then. I as we know, we're keeping this down in the middle, keeping it real and all that sort of carry on. I think this is actually the worst news of the whole SG&E sort of collapse, is that the research and development department, which Aaron Hoffman-John was part of, closed down. That, for me, is the actual worst news which has came out from this whole situation. It's absolutely great. It's just moved on to Google AI itself. So as you were saying, she could bring some things across there, which could maybe make their way into Google. Also, I've hinted this on Twitter, she was not the only person to move. There has been other moves as well, which aren't out there as public. Some of these moves happened at the weekend, and I'm not going to go out there and name names and things like that. So there has been more movement. Again, this is just talking generally of all the movement which has been happening. There's a real opportunity for Stadia to put in people and to bring the people in to bring some direction to Stadia and maybe change the tone and everything out there in regards to Stadia. The only thing I would guard against here is if these people come in today and say, we want Fortnite on Stadia, we want GTA on Stadia, we want this, X, Y, and Z, but this is the changes we're going to do, and we're going to do it. It's going to take months, if not years, for some of these decisions and things to actually filter out into Stadia. That is why there's opportunity here, but we have to be patient in that regard.
I think patience from a Stadia end user point of view is absolutely key. These people being put into positions they're going to have to work through, and for many of them, I think their first tasks are going to be finishing off or implementing what previous people in those positions have worked on. For me, the biggest news from the SG&E thing back in February was, I think it was 150 people were at risk of potentially unemployment, losing any employment, any job. So to hear from Erin that the majority of those people that want to stay within Google have been able to, I think that's absolutely great, particularly at these times where things are a bit uncertain economically anyway, to be able to have a job doing something they like and they enjoy doing in a company that I hope they enjoy. They've opted to stay within them. Presumably they do enjoy working there to some extent. Being able to live and support themselves and their families. I think that's by far the best news that we could have had out of this.
Yep, it's great that they've actually been able to go about in the different parts of Google, because there's some of them jobs, like Aaron's job there, which has a clear and other. You can transfer her skills into a different part of Google. Obviously, we've seen with the other news of the week with other the game devs, not so easy to translate their skills. But Aaron's, yeah, it's great that anybody who has wanted to stay at Google has stayed at Google.
Yep, definitely. I think any of us or all of us can agree on that. The fact that people are finding, a home at Google and jobs elsewhere is the biggest positive thing to come out of it, which is excellent. Anything else you guys want to say on this, or should we move on?
Sammy sucks.
Excellent. You're getting some abuse tonight, Sammy.
Yeah.
Excellent. So the next piece of news from kind of the world of Stadia is the fact that Resident Evil Village launched on Friday, along with all other platforms. I was going to say a rapturous applause for how well the port is running, and obviously the fact that it is an out and out day and date title. I know Duncan hasn't dipped into it yet. Sammy, I'm not sure if it's your bag. Is it?
No.
I didn't think. I didn't think it was.
I think. Yeah. I'll go first then, because I've not got as much to say, I guess. But again, this is another example. AAA game or big, well-known title dropping day and date on Stadia, which is good news for platforms, certainly in the short to medium term. Hopefully, I've heard from people the report runs quite well. In lead, yep, you've noticed. Thank you very much. I wasn't going to draw attention to it, but a great game, well-known game, dropping day and date will bring people to the platform. And again, with that Premier Edition offer, which if you haven't got a Premier Edition lying about, is it almost doesn't make sense. Buy this £60 game, we'll give you a £90 set to play it on. This doesn't make sense, but it's absolutely incredible.
Excellent.
Okay, beat me then. It will be me. Yes, by all intents and purposes, for what I've seen out there, this is a good Stadia port. Just bear them words in mind. It is a good Stadia port. If you go check out Cloud Gaming Extreme or Game Tech Planet, you'll see the differences between Stadia and the next-gen consoles. But for Stadia, this is an absolutely great port. And if this is the only way you can play Resident Evil, work away and enjoy that, because they've spent their money, as it's been well documented, the $10 million to bring it here, and it has been money, looks like well spent, because the port is absolutely great, and we're seeing that with Resident Evil 7 as well. So as Sammy was saying, I've got a slight problem with this deal in the UK, because of the pricing of Resident Evil in the UK at £65, which roughly for our American audience is $90. When you
I'll take your word for that.
It's in and around the $90 mark. So that is my only bug of contention with it. Again, if this was £60 or £50, like Cyberpunk was, it wasn't Cyberpunk 50 quid. I'm pretty sure it was 50 quid.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Absolutely no problem. But the £65 mark, you can get the deluxe edition on different platforms for that amount of money in the UK, and that is playing through the Xbox store or the PlayStation store. So that is just my slight bugbear with that. But coming to Stadia, absolutely phenomenal that it's there, and everybody seems to be loving the port.
I'm gonna ask you a question, because you mentioned it and you brought it up. In your mind, that at 10 million, is it a large amount of money to pay for the game to come to the platform?
I think they've overpaid for it because I think it's out there that they have overpaid for it and they've overpaid for ports. However, this is what they need to be doing. They need to be paying the 10 millions just to get the games onto the platform, because if the games out there, it's a chicken and egg, and the developers and publishers need to be paid to bring the games at this moment in time. Just like Xbox has to pay for Japanese ports, because the Japanese support on their console isn't great. They have to go out there and put their money in their pocket to try and bring the Japanese games across. So it's what is good for the goose is good for the gander. So this is what you need to get into the games industry, which Google are trying to do at this moment in time. They need to put their money into the pocket to bring these ports across. And I seen a brilliant point on Twitter here today. I'm just trying to build up the suspense. No, Resident Evil 8 is now out. We as gamers are saying, yes, that's brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. But what else are we saying? What's next? What's next? And this is the world we live in. Yeah. What's it? The newspaper, or you know what I'm saying? The chippy in the newspaper and all that. I can't get the actual expression out there.
Case in point, Stadia launched November 2019. We're talking about Gen 2. Gen 2 certainly for a while seemed to get thrust into every single conversation about Stadia. Gen 1 is still better in. It's still perfectly good for what we've got coming to the platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes as gamers need to be happy with what we've got right now in the moment.
I
say that against myself as well.
I'm going to put this out here. What are we going to be talking about what's going to be the talk of the gaming community in the next couple of days?
Well, it'd be Mass Effect without a doubt.
Yeah,
Mass Effect, Battlefield, yeah.
And next week, Biomutant or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
This is how quick things go. And while it's absolutely amazing that Stadia has got Resident Evil, we just need to have the consistency of bang, 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 bang. But hopefully we will get there. And I can't wait to E3 when this all kicks off. Oh, I just go to Elixir's point here. Yes, that is a fair point. It is. You do get the console for the price of the game. I have absolutely no problem with that. A game for the price of you double it basically, more or maybe treble it. You get Xbox Series S, and you've got access to Game Pass, which is the hybrid sort of thing. But again, that's not knocking Stadia. It's just different courses for different horses. And Stadia does have its market out there, and just buying that is pretty good.
And for that value for money, it might not necessarily be for people like us, but I don't get interested in either of those Premier Edition offers because I've already got a Premier Edition, which I got for a different offer. But for someone coming into the platform, looking where getting back into gaming, perhaps, then that's a brilliant deal. Can't underestimate it, really. Buy the game, will give you the equipment to play it on.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, obviously, I think the thing to highlight is it's another day and date release. It's another big title. We know how loved the Resident Evil franchise is. And as a community to be able to, well, by some, sorry, Sammy, but to be in a position, to be in that position to say, bang, as a cloud gaming community, we've got it date and date. And if we want to look at their competition in the cloud, Luna don't have it and GFN don't have it. So in terms of in the cloud space, they're the only people that have got it. So it's a great grab. I think as I maybe
Andara, brilliant point. Sorry, I'd go for that. I'd go for that over Premier Edition. But 1 month free Pro.
Yes, we're going to actually expand onto this here because we're just random. By the way,
Bingo
believe it or
cards
not,
ready, guys.
bingo cards have been ready. Yes, with this, this is what online used to do. If you bought a game, you got something extra. You got like money off. You got 1 month off their Play Pass. I think it would come what it was called. I like this sort of thing, but just expanding. We'll expand this out slightly. If you buy Resident Evil Village on Stadia, should you be able to play it at 4K in the cloud without having Pro because you have bought the game? What do you think? Oh,
That's the interesting, because yes, you do own a license to play that game, to be legally specific, but
it's a difficult question to answer, isn't it?
I don't know, because I'm going to go out there and say you're purchasing the game. It's separate and aside to the subscription of the platform. So as a platform, one of the benefits of being a Pro subscriber, aside of the fact that obviously you can claim, your games every month, is the fact that you get 4K HDR and 5.1. So I think from my perspective, you're buying the game because you want to play the game. Then the 1080 and and kind of 2-channel audio versus, when I'm a Pro subscriber, 4K HDR, just that becomes a separate decision as to whether you want to be a Pro subscriber or whether you just actually want to really kind of soak up the content and enjoy the game for what it is.
My turn now. My turn, is it? My heart is saying that they should be. If you buy a game on Stadia, it should be 4K. If I go out here today and cancel my Stadia membership or start a new Stadia account with no Pro, if I go out there and buy FIFA, I should be able to play that in 4K 60 with full sound, all the perks of Pro. In my head, however, I'm thinking they want everybody on the sub just to have the monthly income to pay for all the 4K. So I understand why you can't do that. But if Stadia was to really take off and have millions upon millions of people paying for the service, I think they will. I think they will do the 4K, but I don't think they're at the user base to support that, and they need this monthly money to come in. But in my heart of hearts, I think if you buy it, you should have access to the best version of it.
I agree. The 4K streams or anything above 1080, for my point, has to be some expense paid by Google over and above what, for example, the other cloud platforms do. No other cloud platform streams the games at 4K at the moment. Let's talk about some of them boosting up to that, but at the moment, Stadia are the only people that do that. So that must mean they've either done some research and spent the hours working out how to do it, or they're using a bit more power and a bit more energy. Probably a mixture of both, to be honest. That money has to be recovered somewhere. So that's the 4K under the Pro subscription justified. But again, I'm shocked, but I'm going to have to agree with Duncan a little bit in that. in my heart, it's yeah. You bought the game, you want to play it at the full quality. If you buy Resident Evil 8 on PS5 or Xbox Series X, you'd be able to play the game at full quality.
Well, what would you need in order to play it at full quality? You'd
need to lay out the money to. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess we are sort of circling around. Yes, 4K should be under Pro at the moment.
This is what I really want to get out here, because as we can see in the chat here, it is a complete and other mix in the chat there as well. Some people are saying no, it should be under Pro, and some are saying yes, it should be. You buy it. This is what we want to get going here. We want to get these sort of discussions going, get people thinking, get the different opinions out there. So yeah, it's a difficult question to answer, because there's reasons why I can see why they've tried to bundle it under Pro, but I also also think if you're buying it now, I used to be of the opinion if you bought it in Pro, if you bought a game, it should, if you wanted the 4K, it's under Pro, but times are changing, and I think for me, I'm now in the camp where I think it probably should be, if you buy a game, it should be 4K, and maybe revamp Pro somehow, maybe make it more subscription sort of model, get more games don't leave. So if someone brand new joins Stadia today, they've got access to 20, 30, 40 games instead of being only access to what games are in Pro at that moment in time, because it's just so much competition out there, and I think with competition you just need to adapt.
Good shout. Yep, no, I'd agree with that. I think the only other point I was going to say before we kind of hoofed off in a different direction briefly with regard to Resi, and obviously the Premier Edition. I think I might have said this last week, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. I would have really liked to have seen a coordinated effort to say, well, actually, Resident Evil Village, the bundle that you get is with Google TV, and that Google TV and Stadia is officially supported, at that point. I just think that could have been a good time to kind of pull everything together. And then it's not just, yay, Stadia's got Resident Evil Village. It is a case of, right, we've brought you Resident Evil Village day and date. And guess what? If you've got Google TV, bang, you can play it on there. Or if you buy the game, you can claim the new Premier Edition that comes with Google TV, and you can experience all of the other benefits, that come along with that. Whether that be obviously in the UK, it gives you a place to watch multiple places, or whether it be, whether you're stateside and you've got the ability to kind of take advantage of YouTube TV as well.
Okay, I'm just going to speak
TV in the UK. I want YouTube TV in the UK. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just going to speed things on a wee bit here because I'm just conscious of time, because we have to get under a thing, because there's at least two more things we need to discuss. First one being, is you've completely, I'm just going to throw you here because I did say I was going to talk about this because it's going to get you two guys excited. So everybody, Dirt 5 crossplay is coming to Stadia. There's two parts of this. Crossplay is coming this week to Xbox and the consoles, but it's coming to Stadia down the line. I have no problem with that because it has been communicated.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, it is absolutely disappointing that it's not coming the same time as other consoles. But there's reasons for that, because Stadia isn't as high as a priority. And I think if we're completely and utterly realist here, we can understand why Stadia isn't a priority. They're going to be going after, I'm telling you now, their order is going to be Xbox first because it's on Game Pass, probably PlayStation, and then PC, then Stadia at the bottom. But I come out, communicate, and it is fine, because we're just, yes, you're disappointed that it's not coming now, but you're actually excited because it's coming down the line. And I know you guys are going to be extremely excited about that.
Dude.
Yes, it gets a big thumbs up. It's a massive thumbs up. It's just like, I think it's continuity as well in the announcement, isn't it? They announced Dirt 5 last year. It's coming here. It's coming to Stadia later. It arrives on Stadia later. Okay, now we're doing crossplay. It's going to be here and here. It's coming to Stadia later. It's just a message which is continuity, which shows clearly that the guys are switched on in what they're doing. They know what their priorities are. They know what they need to do in what order. So yeah.
And dare I say it, although this opens a can of worms a little bit, but first Codemasters game with crossplay?
No, it's even bigger than that.
That's a fair point. Yeah, it is.
No, no. Apex has crossplay, but it's another EA game now, because EA now own Codemasters.
Yeah, that's true. Ooh.
So interesting.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's the interesting thing. Did I steal your thunder slightly there, Sammy? You continue.
No, I think you trumped it a little bit. I thought Codemasters. But yeah, if you consider the fact they are owned by EA now, that's a bit of proof they're trying to make good on their promise, because they wanted crossplay on FIFA. They've been saying that for a while, and there's been rumours. There was rumours it should be in 2021, but that wasn't to be. That's obviously still something that is on the cards. Hopefully we get that for 2022.
Interesting thing. Again, we can sit and talk about Stadia and all the different cloud platforms. Or wonder if this raises the possibility of maybe crossplay for F1 2021.
Well, that's where I was going initially. But yeah, it's the potential there is quite big.
Yeah. I'm okay. Before we go on to a big talk, but what I want to do here, and I forgot to put this in the notes because I'm an absolute moonbeam. Here is a Duncan tip. We want to give out tips for Stadia as well.
So we're going to do that.
I'm going to give a boring tip, which I've said many, many times before. If you have picked up Borderlands 3 on Stadia, do not play it in highest quality setting mode. Go down to balanced, because that drops it down to 60 FPS. And playing Borderlands at 60 FPS makes it a completely and utterly different game. And as we know, on cloud, no matter what platform it is on cloud, 30 FPS feels, for me anyway, completely and utterly horrible. And you just pick up on it straight away. And that is no matter what platform it is. So if you want to play Borderlands 3, if you go into your Stadia settings and down to the quality, drop it down to balance mode, because that will make a massive difference. And there's other games that do it too.
Excellent. Great little tip.
There's your tip.
Yeah, it's well worthwhile. And I can certainly say it does make obviously not just Borderlands, but Borderlands particularly, it is quite a noticeable difference, I think. Superb. I guess that brings us on to our big feature topic for the week, gentlemen. Yeah. So obviously, as we said at the
last 10 minutes of the cast.
Yeah, indeed. As we said at the top of the show, is to pick a game that you can showcase a Stadia feature and explain. So who wants to go first? Don't all jump at once.
Doesn't want to go first.
Okay, I'll go first.
Oh, he does want to go first. Okay.
I'll go first. I have no bother. And I think Andrew Mullinose is going to be excited with this choice because I got some of the ideas from him. And it is, can anybody guess?
It's not Slay the Spire, is it?
It's not. I told you I was not choosing Slay the Spire or Bioshock.
That counts for bingo cards, guys. That counts for the bingo cards. He did mention it.
The game I'm going to choose is WWE 2K22. The reason for this, there's just so many options. First of all, you've got the obvious one, crowd play. But just if you expand that out, crowd play Royal Rumble. Can you imagine that? You go into the queue and it's going to be a Royal Rumble and you could end up absolutely anywhere. That could be absolutely loads and loads of fun. Then if you're just playing on crowd play, you can then put in some crowd choice. What type of match do you want to have? Do you want to have a TLC match, a no holds barred, a casket match, anything like that? So it gives you the choice of that. There's just a load of different things. And then you could do also some state shares, with the obvious ones with different types of matches and stuff like that. You come in and you're half dead. You come in number one and you've got 10 more people to fight in the Royal Rumble or something like that. You could just make up some absolutely brilliant wee things which you can get set out there. So my choice was WWE 2K22.
Superb. Sammy?
Yeah, I'll go next. My game, I couldn't find a specific version of it, but as has been mentioned already tonight, myself and Barry are both keen racing gamers. Mostly that's meant we focused on Formula One and single seaters, open wheel cars. Another form of racing I really like is endurance racing, which is epitomized by a race that is normally held in June or July. I think this year it's being held in August because of some big COVID thing you might have heard about, called the Le Mans 24-hour race. As you imagine, it's a 24-hour race where teams of 3 or 4 drivers will try and drive a car flat out around a track in France for 24 hours. And whichever car completes the most distance in that 24 hours is the winner. Also in that, you have different classes of racing. So like in endurance in grid, you have 4 different races going on at the same time on the same track. Cars of different speeds and different capabilities will be driving on the same track. The slower cars have to keep out of the way of the faster cars. The faster cars have to try not to crash into the slower cars when they're passing them. Pit stops. If your car breaks down, you have to try and fix it within the time whilst the other guys are going around the track. I find it absolutely fascinating. I'm a bit sad like that, I guess. But I would really love to see that come to Stadia. The idea of using power of the cloud, leveraging that 10.7 teraflops, the elastic computing capabilities as well, to put yourself and a team of 3 or 4 into a car driving around in any of the classes, but you get to race around with the other cars in the 24-hour race. So you have to avoid traffic. You have to work your way through. As it goes through the 24-hour cycle, go from afternoon into dusk, into midnight, into dawn, where the track's particularly fast. The possibilities there are endless. If you go into, you can use Stream Connect, or as you pass your car over to your teammate, another multiplayer person sat somewhere else in a Stadia supported country, you can watch their on board as they're driving around and feel as though you're in there. State share is another brilliant way you can move it. If you can't do a 24-hour race in one sitting, surprise, surprise, some people don't have that time. Once you've reached the end of your session, click the screenshot button, save the game, turn it off, go and do whatever else you need to do, get some sleep probably. When you wake up in the morning, you're ready to go for another session, load up the state share, continue the game as is. The possibilities for that are endless. And the sad thing is, because only really would only appeal to a few people will do racing games, very few people want to do a 24-hour race, sitting there. I'm one of them, but then I'm sad like that, as I've said. Dare I say, I think Barry might also be sad like that and be interested in it as well.
Yes, sign me up, Sammy. You've got me sold.
But would be absolutely brilliant to race a 24-hour race on Stadia using the power of the cloud and all the features that come with it.
Excellent. I think they were both really good shouts there, and very obviously.
And I'll just chuck in something quickly here, be really quick because you've only got a couple of minutes. And the state share to your second driver or your third driver or the next person's
pass state shares around your team crew. Yeah.
Brilliant. My pick, I went a little bit different. Went a little bit out there. And it's probably, you guys might actually think this is a bit of a curveball. But the game that I chose was that I'd love to see come to the platform is Tetris Effect Connected. With crowd choice, where at random intervals, when the streamer content creator is playing the game, you get to choose the next shape that's coming down. So you can absolutely completely kind of screw up their run on it, if possible. But then it's another one of those games where you can then obviously tie in a couple of different, you can tie state share into it as well, where you can either have the developer put it out there. You could have people at the Stadia team where they get to a certain point where they make an absolute state of the level, and then literally smash the screenshot button
over to someone else,
and then pass it over to someone else and go, there you go. See if you can sort that out. Challenge on, mix it around, with your friends. And then, of course, the obvious one, because it's a multiplayer, you've got crowd play, so you can tick all 3 Stadia exclusive features in one particular game. And I think it'd be a really interesting thing to kind of throw into the mix.
Awesome. So there is the different games, the different genres using different features, and some good shouts here in the chat. I've seen Charles' one earlier, but it's actually just jumped off there. I was going to bring it and show that, but it's actually just disappeared. And Calaplatabus has said that we would love to see Wheel and Pedal support in Stadia. Yes. I think we all would like that. And maybe a game I would like to see as well, just to take on the Sammy's one off that went out from my head again, is the big hardcore racing game which you play in a browser. Basically, it's a Java game which all the big sim racers use.
There's iRacing.
Wow.
iRacing.
Yep.
iRacing. That's the game. But we will drop the link here into the chat here it's already in the chat.
Pinned. Yep.
It's
If
already
you
in
want-
pinned, so yeah,
if
if you're
you-
wondering how you can watch the Cloudian cast, who are on immediately after us, the message with the link to their stream is pinned in the chat. I'm pointing over there. It's completely the wrong direction. It's actually over there. Yeah. But do go over, give them all the love just as you're giving us. It's 20:59, so I think we're trying to wrap up now, aren't we?
Are we?